Well, let's unpack South Africa's water challenges. We're going to be joined via Zoom by Dhesigen Naidoo, a member of the Presidential Climate Commission and Research Associate at ISS Africa. A very good afternoon to you, Dhesigen. Thank you for your time with us here on the SABC.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Let's look at the water crisis in South Africa. At this point, can South Africa's water crisis still be classified as a looming threat, given what has been unearthed?
Look, the threat has been realized in many cases. I mean, we have the issues around the cholera outbreak. We have issues of untreated wastewater treatment works, untreated water in the system. We have the issues of raw sewage in the system. We have shortages of water, not only from the water sector's issues, but also from the electricity issues, all of which are saying that we're currently sitting in a space where we both have a quantity problem as well as a quality problem. And the thing that we really want to emphasize is that as bad as things are now, they can get a lot worse on the back of climate change. And this is really, really critical because we're finding that climate change with higher temperatures, more extreme weather events, is limiting the availability of water on the one hand, but also increasing some of the threats on the other hand, including the disease profiles. As vectors become more viable, the malaria cordon spreads, the dengue cordon spreads. We know about the cholera outbreak. So if we don't get it right now, but right in a way that is smart for the future can actually be a lot worse than we are currently experiencing.
No, absolutely. And thank you very much for that context. Do you think that South Africa has done enough to improve its infrastructure, perhaps as we look at how we're losing millions of rands in litres as well as money due to water leaks, amongst many other issues?
Well, clearly we have not. We have had many plans and we have a really good water law, one that is still lauded by the rest of the world. But the investments and implementation, a story that we know well from the electricity sector, is finding that same representation in the water sector. Non-revenue water is now up to 46% in the system. And this is a loss of not only water, but a loss of money, valuable money that could be used to refurbish the system to get the servicing to the places that it needs to be. We're also bound by international commitments that we have made. For example, in water and sanitation, it's universal access to everybody in the country by 2030. And we're way, way short of that target. We also, I think, are not paying enough attention to the climate resilience component of this. So the floods in Durban are a good example of where you don't sufficiently respect the natural ecological infrastructure, and you develop in places that you shouldn't be developing. You remove the things in the ecology that can help you around water resilience, like the mangrove swamps. The net result is much higher levels of damage from those extreme events than we would ordinarily have. So the bottom line is that we are not being, one, smart enough around our plans, and two, we're not investing enough in the right places to get us to a water secure South Africa.
No, I think questions about urbanization and migration also come to the fore at this point on the back of what you've echoed. Even spatial planning. How does this begin to add more pressure on the systems within urban spaces?
Well, incredibly so, because, I mean, urbanization in our context is as a result of multiple factors. The one that we speak about the most are economic refugees that find the opportunities for possible employment, possible livelihood in urban areas, away from impoverished rural areas. But there are new drivers in the system as well. And those new drivers include issues of climate change, where life on the back of climate change has become unviable for people in certain areas, and we have genuine climate migration and climate refugees inside the system. So what we have to do is either we develop those rural areas so they're more resilient, so people don't have to move, or we reorganize the urban infrastructure in a way that can accommodate people and introduce a new concept. And we badly, badly need this. We need climate-sensitive urban design. We need an urban designed environment that is sufficiently climate resilient to both accommodate the needs of the people and to provide a scenario where you decrease the city's ecological footprint so that it doesn't have such an impact outside the cities. Now, are these expensive investments to make? The answer is yes. It does require a lot of funding. What is the cost of not investing in this infrastructure? And that amounts to disaster in the medium to long term.
No, absolutely. I think just as I wrap up this conversation, I want to look at whether we are on par or on point to achieve the Sustainable Development 6 goal, which obviously seeks to ensure access to water and sanitation for all. If not, why? And what could be done at this point?
Look, we need to do a lot more than we're currently doing. I mean, we have to be candid about the fact that there was leadership instability in the water sector for the longest time. We now have a new minister and we have a permanently employed director general, which makes a big difference. But even so, we need to be organizing for three things in particular. One is we have to have climate resilient planning around the new infrastructure as we go forward. Two, we need to bring other partners into this. You know, we need to create the investment case around water and then allow the opportunity, as the president announced in Asona a couple of years ago, around independent water producers. So you expand the water team. And three, we really need to agentize people, the users, to better manage the water that they currently have. And we're not doing enough in all three of those domains, and we need to accelerate that very, very rapidly.
Let's leave the conversation there. Thank you for your time with us here on the SABC. Dhesigen Naidoo, member of the Presidential Climate Commission, a research associate at the ISS Africa, just unpacking South Africa's water challenges, perhaps the strides that have been taken, but also looking at the gaps in the system and ways in which we can improve to ensure that access to clean drinking water, of course, is available to all.